Hi and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while, so I would like to apologize for that. I have a second job now and it takes up a lot of my free time. Thankfully the hours are coming down now after the holiday season, so I still should be able to post monthly. So hopefully there won't be such a big delay. I did promise a TBR game video for January, and I did technically film it, but I accidentally deleted the video when I was deleting some pictures from my phone to clean up some space. So I didn't want to refilm it again because I was happy with, what books I had in the pile. So I promised there will be one for February. And this video is going to be a wrap-up video of the books that I read in November and December. I decided to combine them for two reasons. I'm still kind of feeling a little slumpy. I'm getting out of it now, but like throughout November and most of December, I was still feeling like really slumpy, not knowing what I wanted to read, not really feeling like reading all that much, and not overly enjoying what I was reading. Not all books. I have there's actually 3 5-stars on this list, so it certainly wasn't like a horrible reading month or anything, but just kind of felt like I was reading to read and to meet my goal, my reading goal for the year. So, not the best kind of reading, and actually that's one thing that I really want to focus on for this year. Instead of focusing so much on quantity, I want to focus on quality. Because although I did meet my reading goal last year of 50 books, and I did raise it for this year to 65, I'm not expecting to be able to meet the goal this year, while working the 2 jobs. I don't even think I will probably meet the last year's goal. So I really want to put my focus on quality and not being concerned with how many books that I am reading. I'm hoping that can help avoid some slumps, because that kind of felt pressured a lot last year trying to reach that goal, especially since like when I got to around September, I realized how many books I had left to reach it. So I want to step away from feeling like I need to reach my reading goal this year, and the real goal for me is to focus on quality. I want to have more 4 and 5-star reads and not have as many 3-star reads as I had. Now, I did not have a bad reading year last year. I think about actually 25% of the books I read were 5-star reads, and I had quite a few 4-star reads, but I still had a lot of books, like over 20, that were like 3-star reads and that I just felt okay about. And I don't know, I just find that really frustrating to feel like a big portion of the books that I read are just okay or fine. So I really want my focus on this year to really only be reading, to focus on quality. Which is not to say that 3 stars are bad, or that like I want to eliminate all 3-star books. It's just I really, for the past few years, have just felt like most of what I'm reading is okay, and that's frustrating to me. I don't know if others find it frustrating, but it's frustrating to me. So that is my overall reading goal for the year. I'm not going to focus on quantity this year, but focus on quality. And that being said, though, the end of the year, November and December, wasn't really that bad of that bad of a time. I like nothing less than a 3 is on the books that I am going to present to you. So really wasn't that bad. But another reason I decided to combine them is just I rarely have time to read in December. It's not unusual for me to, even before I had the second job, it wasn't unusual for me to read only 1-2 books in December. Now I think I completed 3 or 4, so I could have split the months, but I didn't, because I didn't know that was how it was going to work out for me, but it did. And with that being said, let's get into it. And just a reminder, I do go from the books that I have rated least liked to most liked. So actually that means I'm gonna have to rearrange here, because I'm changing the rating of the first one. So this would be The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. If I mispronounced the author's name, I do apologize. I forgot to check on that before I started the video. I promise I'm trying to do better on that. I just have such an unpopular opinion about this book because this is one of the book world's darlings for 2023. And I just really didn't care for it. I kind of don't like the title at all. It's too long of a title in my opinion. I do love the cover. Now those are very minor, superficial things. So here's the thing. So this book follows our main character, Micah Moon, who is a witch living in Britain in the UK, and she answers an ad to go be a tutor or a teacher to these 3 young witches, and there she kind of finds found family. There's there's a love interest there who's kind of grumpy and very super protective, not just of the 3 girls, but everyone who resides, at this kind of secret, mansion house that they live in. Because, in this world, you keep your, you live in secret as a witch, no one's supposed to know about your magic. You're not really supposed to reside with other witches because that draws attention. And it was cute, and I actually really loved the book until the last 60 pages. I think a few things that kind of dented in the book for me, it was kind of advertised to me as cozy fantasy, when really, in my opinion, based on how it reads, it's a contemporary romance with a fantasy element. And I don't read a whole lot of contemporary romance because I just get the ick so quickly with the romances and everything. And, it was fine, but the last 60 pages, and I can't explain exactly why without spoiling anything, but just some things were said and some things were did that just gave me the ick so hard that every time I think about this book, I like it less and less. In fact, when I finished this book, I still did give it 4 stars because objectively it's not awful, and I enjoyed, most of the book. It was really the last 60 pages that ruined it for me. But I'm lowering the rating to 3 star. Honestly, I want to rate it lower because that ending just ruined my experience with my reading experience for this book. But I don't think it's fair to lower it to anything other than a 3, because it's not that it's a bad book. It just it just missed the mark with me. It's a me thing. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from reading this. It was super popular. I clearly have I'm clearly in the minority in my feelings towards this book. So if you were super hyped and excited to read this book, give it a shot. You're probably going to like it. A lot of it is super cute. Just the last 60 pages just ruined it for me personally. And again, I just get the ick so easy when it comes to contemporary romances. And honestly, that's really what I feel like this is. It has cozy fantasy elements, but to me, this read like a contemporary fiction with fantasy elements, and unfortunately it just missed the mark for me. But it was super popular last year. I understand why. I totally understand why. The found family trope is very strong, and I really enjoyed that aspect until things got ruined. So if you were excited to read this and you haven't yet, don't let me dissuade you. You will probably like it. I'm definitely the odd man out on my feelings for this book. So I did give it 3 stars. So, I'm not saying it's the worst thing I ever read. It certainly is not. It's not even the worst book I read last year. I know I sound a little frosty towards it, but I just had high expectations for this book, and they were meeting them until the very end. So it was just a really big disappointment. But that's all I'm going to say with it. But I do think if you were excited for this book and you haven't read it yet, to absolutely give it a try. You will probably love it. Okay, and then I continued on reading the Nancy Drew series by Carolyn Keene. So this one was The Bungalow Mystery. There's never really too much to say for this one. You know, for this one, Nancy, you know, meets a new acquaintance of a young girl who helped them out of a sticky situation. You know, the young girl is recently orphaned. You know, Nancy meets her new caretakers who are going to be taking her in, and they don't seem like especially nice people. There's all kinds of mess about an inheritance, and yeah, that's really all I can say without spoiling. But you know, Nancy Drews, you know, they're not groundbreaking or anything, but they're, you know, they're really fun, quick, easy breezy reads, always very entertaining. So you know, I would definitely recommend checking out the series, especially if you are trying to get back into reading, or you like to read but you don't have like a super lot of free time, because they're really quick, easy reads. So they're not like a huge, you know, commitment. And like, you know, there's hundreds of these books, but you don't have to read them all. So, you know, they can all be read, you know, individually, and you're not really going to feel like you're missing out on anything. So, you know, definitely recommend. I then read Edgedancer by Brandon Sanderson. So this is a little novella that follows the character Lift, who we were introduced to in Words of Radiance. I don't think she was introduced in The Way of Kings. I think it was Words of Radiance. So you know, this basically just follows, you know, her story. I guess we're not really far into her story. It's just you know, she is one of the Radiants, has that power, and this is just like kind of like, I hear it's going to be important to Oathbringer, which I have started reading. I think I'm about 250 pages in. I'll be reading this one for a while because it's very long, but I needed to read this one first, and it was super cute. I like Lift. She's entertaining. She's pretty funny. You know, it was cute, exciting story. Now it was kind of dampened because I did kind of feel like forced to read it, because it was recommended that you read this one before, and I never like to feel forced to read a book, so that probably affected my reading experience. I did give this 3 stars, but it was certainly an entertaining story, and I'm not mad that I read it. You know, it was fine. I'm very excited to be in Oathbringer now. What was that noise? I think I have a text. Okay, well, I'll take care of that later. Sorry about that. I'm easily distracted. And now we get into our 4-star reads. And the first one is Dream Lake by Lisa Kleypas. I read Rain Shadow Road in October, and I think it was on that wrap-up video. I like this series. I recently found out there's more than 3 books. There's actually 4. So I have the 4th one on audio, and I'm going to have to get the first one because I have not read these in order, which is okay. You can read them individually, certainly. But basically they live in, you know, this town, I think off of Oregon or Washington, basically on an island. And there's definitely magical realism to this world. And this story, we follow Alex Nolan. He is part of the Nolan family, Nolan brothers. You know, they had a rough start to life with alcoholic parents. And Alex Nolan is a functioning alcoholic, certainly. So, you know, he's kind of the most affected by the upbringing. You know, and it follows him, and you know, he starts to develop a relationship with Zoe, who is the female lead. And also Alex is also being followed around by a ghost who is very much tied to Rain Shadow Road, the house that his brothers moved into, and that Alex is working on. So it's been a while it's been since November, so I'm foggy on the details of this book, but it's you know, Alex meets Zoe because she hires him to fix up a house that she will be living in with her grandmother, who is failing, and you know, basically a romance builds between the two of them, even though both of them are trying to avoid it. This one's super cute, super sweet. I like Lisa Kleypas's writing, so I'm looking forward to the other 2 books in the series and definitely willing to check out more by her. I would definitely recommend it. Okay, I know I'm gonna get made fun of for this one, but I started rereading the Twilight series, so I read the first one, and okay, I know it feels like a sin to give a Twilight book 4 stars. It's really not well written, and there's just so many problems in the series, and so many problematic elements added by Stephenie Meyer that, I'm not the person to get into, um, but so, like, I hate giving it 4 stars, but it is what it is. I agree that it's not well written. I mean, if we're looking at it from that way, it's probably like a 2 or a 3. It's certainly not the worst written book that I've ever read, but it's not good. But the experience-wise, it's a fun story. Teenage vampire romance. Girl moves to small town, falls in love with a vampire who's broody and mysterious. For what it is, like a teenage romance story, it's entertaining. I probably will be continuing on the series, but I will say I did not enjoy it as much as I did when I was younger. So I think I'm finally going to be able to get it off my shelf. So this might be my final read for the series. I know I haven't really told you how much this one is about, but honestly, it's super old at this point. I don't think a lot of new readers are going to want to read it. And I just kind of feel like it was such a phenomenon. Like, most people know what it's about. So all you need to know: teenage romance, girl moves to a small town, falls in love with the vampire. That basically sums it up. So, the first one, anyway. But, ugh. Okay, yeah, 4 stars. I know. We're going to get into the 5-star reads, and we are going to start off with The Tamarack Tree by Patricia Clapp. This was a nostalgia ride for me. I read this book in middle school, I think, possibly elementary school, but I am pretty sure it's middle school, and it follows my main character, Rosemary, who has moved to the south from England after her mom passed. She's moved to live with her brother, who's an apprentice to become a lawyer with their uncle. So they moved to Vicksburg, Mississippi. Yes, that's it. Shortly before the Civil War breaks out, and this novel is written like a diary, and she's just writing her experiences in the war and her thoughts and feelings, especially since she feels very conflicted because, her morals and her standing are with the North, but the people of Vicksburg really took her in, so her heart is with the South. It's a quick, cute read for a war story, I suppose, but I don't know, I really enjoyed it, and I mean, I'll be honest, it probably shouldn't be 5 stars. It should probably be more like 3 or 4 if I were to look at it like super objectively. But I loved this book when I first read it, and I still really enjoyed it now. So the nostalgia factor is bumping up to 5. For me, it is a 5-star read. It probably won't be for you, but if you are just looking for a quick, easy breezy middle read, like, middle-aged read, I would definitely, recommend giving it a try, especially if you like when things are written like as a diary entry. One of the books that I read in December is actually a comic book, which is about understanding comics by Scott McCloud. This comic was fascinating. It just takes kind of like a historical stand, look on, not even historical. It kind of really digs into what a comic is and what makes a comic. Like art style, writing, how thoughts are expressed, how it differs from other, media. And I just found it to be really super, 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 super fascinating. I, blasted through this book, any second I had a free time, I was reading this. Would definitely recommend 5 stars. And then the last book for the wrap-up is also another reread for me, which is The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. I loved this book when I read it, and I loved it again now. It ended up being my favorite book of the year, which I don't love. I don't like it when rereads are my favorite for the year, but, it is what it is. I knew it was probably going to be the favorite when I picked it up, so that's on me. just follows this young girl who's narrating her story from heaven, and she is watching on for her, like, you know, her family deal with the aftermath and the fallout from her murder. Big trigger warnings for, you know, murder, violence, and SA. Definitely some things you should know before picking up this book. But there's also, you know, kind of like a magical realism kind of thing to this book. Not so much like in anyone's lives, but, you know, just because she is narrating the story from heaven, and there is this one odd scene towards the end that's definitely got like kind of like a magical, or at least a supernatural like thing to it. But I love this book. Very emotional read. You know, would definitely recommend. And that is it. So, you know, I got quite a bit of reading done in November and December. I am not expecting to have that luck every month, so, you know, just a warning, there probably won't be a wrap-up video every month, because, you know, I don't have a super whole lot of free time, so I will probably have to combine months for wrap-up videos. Kind of expecting that for January and February. So if you don't see a wrap-up video for January, you know, I will be discussing those books, but for the wrap-up video in February. And that is all. That is the end of the wrap video. Hope everyone had a great holiday season and that you have a happy and safe new year. Bye-bye.